Here is something most mindfulness teachers will not say out loud. The people who scroll their phones the second a room goes quiet, they actually have a point. That urge to fill silence, with noise, with content, with anything, is not weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. And if you have ever sat in a waiting room, turned the TV on just for background noise, or felt your chest tighten the moment things went still, you are not broken. You are responding rationally to an irrational amount of chronic stimulation. But here is where they are wrong. That rational response is quietly destroying your ability to feel calm. Ever. Because the more you avoid silence, the louder your anxiety gets. Researchers at the University of Virginia found in 2014 that participants preferred giving themselves mild electric shocks over sitting alone with their thoughts for just 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Think about that. Your brain has been so thoroughly hijacked by constant input that stillness literally registers as pain. But there is a way out. And it starts with understanding what is actually happening inside your nervous system, right now, every time you reach for that phone. You might think this is a problem for teenagers glued to TikTok. It is not. This is hitting high-functioning adults hardest. The project manager who has back-to-back Zooms all day and turns on a podcast the second the last call ends. The parent who finally gets the kids to bed and immediately opens Instagram, not because they want to, but because the silence feels threatening somehow. The person who has read every self-help book, knows they should meditate, tries to sit still, and lasts about 40 seconds before the anxiety crawls up their spine and they give up entirely. That is you, is it not? Or someone you know so closely it is uncomfortable. A 2022 survey by the American Psychological Association found that 27% of adults reported feeling so stressed they could not function on most days. 27%. And here is what that data misses. The people who are stressed but functioning are often the most disconnected from silence of all. Because busyness has become the disguise that anxiety wears in public. If you are always moving, always consuming, always productive, you never have to feel what is underneath, until your body forces you to. Here is the first warning, and it is the one nobody wants to hear. Your brain is not just used to noise, it has structurally reorganized itself to need it. Neuroscientist Dr. Gloria Mark at UC Irvine published research showing that after a digital interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully return to a task. But most people are interrupting themselves every 47 seconds. Do the math. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for calm decision-making, emotional regulation, focus, is barely getting oxygen. Meanwhile, your amygdala, the threat detection center, is running at full volume all day long. This is why silence feels dangerous. Your amygdala has cataloged quiet as the absence of input, and the absence of input now reads as threat. You have been conditioning yourself accidentally to treat peace as a warning sign. The cruel irony is that the thing that would heal your anxiety, stillness, is the exact thing your anxiety has made feel impossible. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to access your own calm without external help. Which means the window to fix this is not infinite. Warning 2 is physical. And this one might be the most important thing you hear today. Every time you feel uncomfortable in silence, and immediately fill it, with your phone, with music, with TV, your body reads that discomfort as a stress event. Your adrenal glands release a small hit of cortisol. Now that sounds minor. But do this 40, 50, 60 times a day. And studies suggest most people trigger stress responses that frequently through digital habits alone, and you have created a baseline cortisol level that never fully drops. Chronic elevated cortisol does not just make you feel anxious. According to research published in Psychoneuroendocrinology in 2018, chronically elevated cortisol shrinks the hippocampus, the part of your brain that regulates memory and emotional processing. It disrupts sleep architecture. It inflames your gut lining. It suppresses immune response. Your silence avoidance is not just a mental habit. It is a physical health event happening in slow motion every single day. And you cannot out-supplement or out-exercise a nervous system that never gets permission to power down. The body keeps the score. And right now the score is not in your favor. The third warning is the quietest one, and it might be the one that hits the deepest. When you cannot tolerate silence, you lose access to yourself, not metaphorically. Literally. The default mode network, the brain system that activates during quiet reflection, is where your deepest insights, your values, your sense of identity actually live. Harvard psychologist Matthew Killingsworth published research in Science magazine in 2010 showing that people's minds wander approximately 47% of the time. And crucially, he found that mind wandering during rest, when not forced or anxious, is associated with higher levels of meaning and emotional well-being. But here is the problem. If you never allow rest, if every quiet moment gets immediately filled, you are starving that system. You start to feel a subtle but persistent emptiness. Like you should know what you want but somehow do not. Like decisions feel harder than they used to. Like you have become slightly unfamiliar. So why do smart, self-aware people keep falling into this trap even when they know better? Because each escape feels genuinely reasonable in the moment. You grab your phone in silence because you tell yourself you are being productive, checking one email, staying informed, being connected. That is not avoidance, right? That is responsibility. You turn on background noise because silence feels lonely, and a little music or TV feels like self-care. You skip the meditation because sitting with your thoughts when you are already overwhelmed sounds like the worst possible idea, like jumping into a pool when you are already drowning. These are not irrational responses. This is why the steel man matters here. Your reasons for avoiding silence are not stupid. They are protective. Your nervous system is doing exactly what nervous systems do, minimizing perceived threat, maximizing perceived safety. The problem is, the map is wrong. Silence is not the threat. The accumulated avoidance of silence is the threat. And every time you make the smart short-term choice, fill the gap, reduce the discomfort, you make the long-term problems slightly worse. This is how anxiety compounds. Quietly, invisibly, one reasonable decision at a time. So here is what actually works. And it is not what most people expect. You do not start by sitting in silence for 20 minutes. That is like deciding to run a marathon when you have not moved in 3 years. You will fail, feel worse about yourself, and never try again. You start with 60 seconds, literally 60 seconds. No phone, no music, no podcast, just sit. Notice what comes up. Notice the discomfort without running from it. Do this once a day for 7 days and you will begin to observe something remarkable. The discomfort peaks at around 20 seconds and then, if you do not escape it, it begins to soften. That is your nervous system learning that stillness is survivable. From 60 seconds, you move to 3 minutes, then 5. You are rebuilding your tolerance for stillness the same way you would rebuild muscle after injury. Gradually, consistently, with patience for the process. Now, and this is the only tool I will recommend today, if sitting in raw silence feels genuinely impossible right now, guided silence meditations exist specifically for this. Apps like Calm and Headspace have structured programs designed to walk you into stillness, gradually using a human voice as a bridge. Think of it as training wheels. The voice holds your hand while your nervous system unlearns the panic response. It is not cheating. It is smart neuroscience. Over time, and most people report a shift within 21 days of daily practice, you will find that silence stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like the one place where you can actually hear yourself think. That is not a small thing. That is your life back. If you made it this far, you already know something important about yourself. You are not someone who wants to stay overwhelmed. You are someone who is ready to understand why the overwhelm keeps coming back. And now you know. Your brain was hijacked by constant noise. Your cortisol is running hot. Your inner voice has been drowned out. But none of that is permanent. 60 seconds of silence today. Tomorrow, 61. That is all it takes to start. If this video gave you one thing worth keeping, share it with someone you know who cannot stop scrolling. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do for someone you love is hand them a mirror. Hit subscribe if you want more content like this. We put out new mindfulness and stress relief videos every Tuesday and Friday. And drop a comment below. What does silence feel like for you right now? Uncomfortable? Terrifying? Or has it already started to shift? I read every single one. Disclaimer. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing constitutes professional advice of any kind.